All right, guys, welcome back to week 1 summary class part 2. All right. And as a part of this particular session, I have discussed with you in the last week up till a few stuff here in the Hello World and Hello World 2. I was basically talking about different kind of Java data types. I was also talking about an array. Okay, we'll go through the arrays one more time to clear all your doubts. Once we are done with the session for today, I will also show you the assignment solutions, and then we will complete this particular week, and then we'll go to the week number 2, so on and so forth. Okay. So please feel free to stop me if there is any questions that you have in Slack which I didn't answer, or you are still having doubt with. Just ask me and I'll help you. Okay. So I did talk about data types, operators. Okay. In the data types, you probably know by now that why we have different types of data types to perform same operation. For example, numbers and then decimals and then then Boolean stuff, right? And then we are trying to talk about operators. Okay, we'll talk about operators, and then we'll talk about loops, and then I'll clear some of your doubts, all of your doubts. All right. So there are 6 different type of operators in Java that you should be aware of. Okay. Some of them are very simple to understand. Some of them maybe you will be getting some questions about it, and we will talk about that. Okay. Arithmetic operators. It is very simple to understand. Arithmetic operators are the ones which are letting you to perform different arithmetical operations. Okay. So when I'm saying arithmetical operations, obviously it means addition, multiplication, division can be very easily performed with the help of these operators. It is self-explanatory. I have shown you this simple example. I'm talking about int a equals 10, int b equals 5, and result. I'm giving an initial value. Let me ask some questions to you guys. Maybe I'll start with Ifani. Ifani, can you just try to tell me that exactly what is happening here? I want you to tell me in words, okay, that exactly what is happening in these lines. So let me show you here. Can we just go ahead and can you explain me what exactly I am doing over here? Explain me in words. What exactly is happening in this line? Can you explain me? I told you the sessions are going to be interactive sessions, meaning I will be asking you questions and you have to answer me, which will show me that you have got the understanding. Similarly, vice versa, right? So please let me know what I am asking here. Tiffany, can you answer me this? It's okay if you are wrong, no problem at all. It's okay if you're wrong. There is no problem at all. Can you just unmute yourself and answer me this? Can you hear me, Ifni?
So just give me 2 minutes. I'm trying to fix something here. Just 2 minutes, please.
Oh yeah, no problem at all. That's fine. No problem at all. That's okay.
Can I go ahead and answer the question?
Okay. Okay, Ben, I'll ask the next question to Ifani. That's fine. Can you tell me what exactly is happening here?
So pretty much what you're doing is you've created an integer a, and you've assigned a value 10 to the letter a, and then you've assigned the value 5 to b, and you've assigned 0 to result. So what you're pretty much going to do here is the a and b, you're going to kind of like drive those values into result.
Exactly. So I'm going to perform an addition with the help of the operator over here, which is a plus sign. And then whatever the result I am gathering, I am going to assign that value to the variable result. The result, which was having the value 0 earlier, is now going to have the updated value, which is 15. It is a variable, result is a variable, which means it can update the information. You can update the information into the variable. I told you last week with very simple words that whenever we're creating a variable in the memory space, you are basically blocking a particular space for that particular variable. You say result. Okay. You say result, and you basically perform, or you basically add the value 0 to it at the initial stage. And then when you perform the addition and you basically assign the value to the of the result of the addition, the value of 0 gets changed to 15. Okay, that is exactly what is happening. It's an integer variable. It will always accept an integer value. Let's try to perform some operations with this. All right, meaning I'll take you to the to the Eclipse, and let me create a new project and new Java project. I'll say Java class 1 and class 1 part 2. All right, and I'll do a finish. Don't create. That creates my Java project. In the Java project, I go and create a package, new package, and I name the package as Java test. All right, Java test, and then I finish. All right, good stuff. I'll remove whatever is in the screen, and I'll create a new class here, new Java class. Let's create the class as with the name called as Arithmetic Operators. Okay, with the main method here. That's that. All right, now let's try to do something. Let's try to say I'm creating a variable called with a float variable, float a, and I give a value to it, maybe 2.5. All right, and if it's a float, obviously I have to add a suffix to it, which is f. All right, when it is a double, I don't have to do that. A decimal value can be accepted by a double variable. It will not complain. If it's a float, you have to add a f to it at the end. And then I have a double.
Sorry, Civic.
Yeah.
Does it always have to be F?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
that
it
is
can be
how that is how you define a float. It has to be f always, only for float.
Okay.
And then I say double b, and I give a value maybe 3.6. And you see I'm not defining anything, any character to it. And then I have a variable called int result. And the result, I give the value, initial value of 0. So you see, all I'm doing is
Savik, sorry. So the int result, where you've given it the value 0, do you necessarily have to give it a value, or can you just put int result?
Yes, it is always a good practice to provide an initial value to the variable. It is always the best practice to do.
Okay.
Okay. And then I have added this tree. I have kept this 3 variables. Now I'm going to perform an addition. I'll say result equals A plus B. And I did that. When I did that, it is going to give me an error. It's saying mismatch cannot convert double to int. I am not allowed to convert a double to int. So for now, I'm going to show you a quick solution, and later on I will discuss the solution in future when we understand what is casting and how really casting works and why it works. So we will talk about all those stuff later in the future classes. But for now, the Eclipse is giving me a solution saying add cast to int. So I just go and select this. When I did that, it has added the simple code for me. What exactly I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to convert these 2 guys to integer. And this process is called as casting. Okay. Anyways, let me go and try to print out. Don't worry about this section. I have not discussed this as a part of class 1 in the videos, but I'm anyways showing you so that you can understand when you see an error, don't get scared.
Hey, sorry, I just came back now. I'm okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I will ask you.
Sorry,
questions.
quickly. What about this int in bracket? I just follow up. I just don't know how you come about this.
Yeah. So this is basically a mechanism that I have not spoken about in the video, but I'm anyways going with the flow. What I'm trying to do is float is A is a float variable, B is a double variable. I'm trying to add them to, and then I'm trying to store the value inside an integer variable. So because this 2 are not matching, the data type of A and B is not matching to the data type of result, which is why I'm performing something called as casting. Casting, all right? Casting, just 1 minute, sorry. Hold on, just give me a minute. Okay, so casting is basically
Savik, I have a
strategy.
question. Sorry.
Yeah, go on. Mhm.
So float and double, is the only difference that double holds a larger value than float?
That is correct. Yes, that's the only difference.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm trying to add A and B because these 2 guys are floats or decimals. I cannot store their value directly inside an integer variable, which is why the Eclipse is suggesting me to perform something called as casting, where I'm converting these 2 guys to an integer. All right. Anyways, let's see. Don't worry about casting. I will be talking about the casting in future in details, why it happens, how it happens, everything. But for now, just follow my lead. So I'm saying sys out, and I'm saying, let's go and print out the result. And when I print out the result for this operation, I get the value as 6. Is this the value? Do you think the value will be 6 here? It will not, right? What will be the value here after addition?
It should be 6.1, right?
Exactly.
It's converted to just normal integer.
Exactly. So it should be 6.1, and the decimal pointer is taken out. Why? Because I am converting it to an integer. So 0.1 is simply taken out. All right. And I get the value as 6. Okay. So basically what I'm trying to show you is an arithmetic operation. Arithmetic operations can be performed within numbers, decimal numbers or normal integers or bytes, basically numbers. All right. The operator plus that I'm showing you over here works differently with characters or strings. Let me prove this to you. I'll go here and I'll say string, or maybe I'll do this. I'll say int c equals 20, int d equals 25. And then I'm going to say something. I'm going to say sysout result is, or summation is, okay. You see, I'm adding something called as an addition or a plus operator here, but this plus operator over here after a string is not going to work as a previous addition that I have spoken to you about. This guy over here is going to work as a concatenation operator. Let me show you how a concatenation operator works. You see, I have a string here, and I'm just saying another string here saying result. Okay. And you will see when I print this, you will see it gets attached. The result value gets attached to the string. So basically these two strings got attached to each other. It got concatenated to each other. Okay. So the same strategy if I use, and if I say, if I want to print the value of the summation of 20 and 25, I can go ahead and I can say 20 plus 25. Basically, I'm trying to add 20 and 25, and that value, I want to add it as a part of the string. That's my motive. If that's my motive, then what I'll do is I'll go and I'll say, let's run. And you will see it is not getting added. You see 20 and 25 is not getting added, rather they got attached. However, if I remove this part of the operation, and now if I go and run this, you will see it gives me the right value, 45. So the question is, why this didn't work? This didn't work because I have string at the front. So basically your logic is running within this method, within this system.out.println. This logic is working from left to right. So basically it is considering the left, the first left, feature or entity, and then it is trying to perform the operation. So for string, the plus means concatenation. So for the string, the plus is acting as a concatenation operator. So it acted as a concatenation operator, and it made 20 as a string. Because when you are adding a string with a number, the number is also getting considered within that string. So 20 got added as a string. So summation is 20. Now summation is 20 is a string, which is again finding another concatenation operator over here, which means it is considering 25 as a string as well. And that's the reason why you are seeing the result as so and so, which is wrong from our perspective, meaning if I want this to be operated as we wish, we must be putting them inside a bracket, right? we must be putting them inside a bracket. When we're putting them inside a bracket, what happens? What happens? It kind of follows the rule of BODMAS. What is BODMAS? You guys probably, everybody knows this. It's a class 5 stuff. B is bracket, multiplication, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, right? So BODMAS rule will be in place now, which means the brackets is getting considered at the beginning. It gets added initially, so 45 is the value, and then it is converted to a string so that the string can be attached to it with this plus operator here. The plus operator over here will be working as a concatenation operator, and that's how it will all work. Can you guys give me a confirmation that you understand this much? Simple stuff.
Yes, I understand it, Sovik. Just wanted to ask, with to do with the float and the double. So you can't convert a float into a double, right? But you can convert a double into a float. Is that how it works?
No. Let me show you. Let me show you. Let me create another variable here. Float result. It's a float, result 2 I'll give. It's a float, so let me keep the initial value as 0.0f. All right. Let us try to add them, sys out. All right, or I'll do this. I'll say result 2 equals 2.5 f plus, sorry, my bad, a plus b. And you can see that this is a float. You have a float at the beginning and you have a decimal, sorry, a double. Now you see, I'm saying cannot convert from double to float. Look at this. Cannot convert from double to float. Add cast to float. Okay. Now what I'll do is I will change this guy to double instead. I'll tell you why I'm showing this. And I'll make this as 0.0. As soon as I did that, you see the error is gone. Why is that? Because double and float, you can understand, you can think, I'll give you a better understanding of it when we start talking about inheritance. But for now, you can understand that float is basically a child of a double. You can consider it like this. I'll talk about this concept from a very important concept in object-oriented principle, and that principle is called as inheritance. Okay, I'll talk about that in future, but for now you understand float is a child of double, which means converting from float to double is not a problem, but converting from double to float is a challenge.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
It won't be happening if it won't be happening without a caster. So I wanted to exactly put this through in the right perspective. Is that understandable by everybody?
Yes.
Good.
I agree.
All right. Okay. Good stuff. Just a second. Ifany, Nikki,
Yeah.
Rishad, all good? Are you understanding this?
Yeah, very well.
Okay.
Sorry, so can I ask if you need to see the result in decimal places, if we run this, will we see result in decimal places?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me run this. So and I go and say result2, and I go and I run this, you get the value 6.1.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, obviously. They are decimal and they will be acted accordingly. Okay,
Thank you.
so that's that. So what I'm talking about is you have to understand the plus operator for arithmetic operation is working differently for a number or for a string. Okay, good. Now let's try to look at other operations that we can consider. The other operations are minus, multiplication, and division. They are very simple stuff. Division, multiplication, and subtraction, it is very simple to understand. However, I want to talk about the division and the percentile. Percentile is basically called as a modulus operator. Okay, let's try to divide 3 by 2, and let's see what is the value do I get. All right, so the result is 0. Good. I have the value here 25 and 20. Okay, I have the value here 25 and 20. So I'll do this. I'll say result equals D by C. D by C. I want to divide 25 by 20. Can we do that? Let's see. What is the result do I get? So I go and I print this. And I say result here. And you will see the result will come as 1. Why it is 1? Because it brings us to the simple division. I have 25 here. I have 20 here. Sorry, not bad. I have 20 here. 20 times 20, 120, right? Ideally, the result should be, if you ask me, 5.0 to 50. And that's where my division completes, right? However, with Java, when I say 25 divided by 20, it just performs the first operation and then stops there because it doesn't know how to deal with this fraction part. Why? Because we are dealing with an integer here. All of these guys are integers. It doesn't understand this decimal part. So it just gives me the result as 1 and finishes it. However, if I clear this out and if I take you back to this guy and then the result 2 is a double, right? And if I say result 2 equals B by A. B by A. If I do that, and if I say result 2, you will get the result as decimal, right? It understands the decimal part. Okay, so over here you understand the division, which I just spoke about. That's the division part. Now, one thing you need to understand with this small example, that is there is one more operator. And that operator is called as modulus operator. Let's try to use a modulus operator for D and C. I'll go and say result. You see, I'm just using the same variable result over and over again to perform different operations, and I'm getting the updated value always. So the code is being read from obviously top to bottom, correct? And whenever it is finding the updated value, it is updating it and then printing it. Simple, right? So all these values are getting overwritten. It's a variable. I hope you understand that. Anyways, so now the point is, I can go and I can say D modulus C, right? And then I go and say sys out, and then I go and say, let me print out result again. And let's see the value that I get. I get the value as 5. Why? Because 20 times 1 is 20, I get the value 5. So the reminder is what the modulus operator will give you. Simple. Okay. Can you guys give me a confirmation you understand this thoroughly?
I have a question about the division.
Sure, go on.
Is there a way, like if you want to be really fussy and you always want to get the full number with the fraction, is there a way to do that? Or would you have to save the numbers as like 20.0 and 25.0? Like if you want a really accurate answer.
Okay, you basically want to get the exact value out of it, right?
Yeah,
So
like if you don't want to round it.
Yeah, you already understand that I mean, one very easy way is to basically take the result. I mean, to get the numbers, the primary numbers that you're trying to divide, put them as double, and that will give you the value, like the way I showed you here. You see, the both of them are double, and then when I divided them over here, I got the value as 1.44. That's one way of doing it. Or else there is one more way where you have to use some looping mechanism. Okay. And basically whatever the steps I am showing you over here, we will be doing it with loops. And then finally we'll get the value as 1.2 over here. That is also one more way to do with that. Okay. But I don't want to go here because I have not spoken about loops and don't want to make you confused, but yeah, the two ways you can do it.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So that is that. Arithmetic operators are very simple to understand. I finished it. If you have any questions, just let me know. If not, I can move on to the next part. Any questions with that? These you guys can just give me a thumbs up in your participant list so that I can go to the next one. In the participant list, just give me a thumbs up. All right, okay, I'm getting it. Perfect. All right, good. Okay, let's move on to the next part. And this part is very important for you to understand how Boolean works. Okay, what is relational operator? How Boolean works. Okay, look at this simple example again. And here again, I'm taking up int a 10, int b 5, and result equals false again. And I'm saying, I'm trying to understand a few conditions. This is the relational operator, which will basically try to understand the relation between two entities. So the first one that I'm trying to understand here is double equals. And what does it mean? It means I'm trying to verify if the left-hand side LHS is equals to the RHS. Left-hand side is equals to the right-hand side. Is it or not? This is called equals operator. Equals. You're trying to understand whether the left-hand side is equals to the right-hand side or not. And the outcome of this analysis is going to be in form of Boolean. All right. So you see, as soon as I do a LHS manage RHS, if the results are, if this condition is a false, I mean, if left-hand side is not equals to right-hand side value, if these two values are different, then the expected outcome is false, obviously. So basically, a relational operator gives you back a Boolean status. That's what you need to keep in mind. Understand? Right? The next thing is not equal to. Again, left-hand side is it equals to or not equals to? This equals operator will tell you if it is equals to each other, and not equals to, which goes like with the sign, with the sign exclamation and equal, that means not equals. So LHS is not equals to the right hand side, is it or not? So if it is, if the left hand side is not equals to right hand side, then obviously I will get the value as true because they are not equal to each other, right? Similarly, we have greater than, you have less than, you have greater than equals to, and less than equals to. When I say greater than equals to, meaning the value is greater than or equal to the right hand side. So yeah, 5 is less than 10. So 10 is obviously greater than 5. So basically, if the value of 5 is b is 10 as well. So if it is like this, if it is int a equals 10 and int b equals 10 as well, then your condition will give you a true, meaning if you say a greater than equal to b, if left hand side is greater than equals to b or not, if it is greater than or equals to b, this means if it is greater than or equals to b. So yeah, a and b is same in that case, and this will give you the value as obviously true. That is relational operator. Do you have any questions with this?
So I think I've got an understanding of relation operators, but then if you was going to add arithmetics to the equation,
Mhm.
and let's say you wanted to add a plus b, and you knew a plus b equals, for instance, 15. And how would you write that out to give you a false or a true answer?
No, it doesn't work like that. So
Okay.
you wouldn't say, let me say. So basically, you're trying to say, okay, I'll just create a new class again. I'll say relational ops. Okay. Main method, and here I'll go. So basically, you're trying to. So you see, when you're trying to perform an addition, you're trying to put that value inside another variable, meaning I can go and say int a equals 10, int b 20.
So how do you convert it to a Boolean?
Which one you want to convert to the Boolean?
So let's say this variable, this value, how would you
Uh-huh.
convert that to a Boolean?
You cannot.
makes sense.
You cannot.
Okay.
It's an integer. You cannot convert that to a. You cannot convert
no
that
way.
to a. No, you cannot do that. So here.
Okay.
So here, let me show you. Here, I'm not converting anything to Boolean. I'm saying that the analysis of that result is a Boolean.
Okay.
I'm saying I'm trying to check if my left-hand side is equals to right-hand side. That is my analysis.
Mhm.
And if the analysis is a right or a wrong.
Okay, I understood.
Okay. What about
But
others? Yeah, go on. Yeah.
But you can't use like a Parsi kind of like what do you call it? The dot Parsi to kind of like convert it to a.
No, okay. You want to use parse. No, you cannot convert anything to a true or a false.
Okay. So it's an analysis, and you're just
Yeah.
verifying
You have to
the
verify.
analysis with a true or false statement.
That is right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You see, I'm saying, say status. So Boolean. Boolean status. All right. So this guy is going to accept either true or a false. Basically, from Java perspective, it is either 1 or 0. 1 means true and 0 means false. Correct? So you cannot convert these two guys to a true or false. You cannot do that.
Okay, but is there a way, for
Mhm.
instance, let's say you said 10
Mhm.
add 20
Mhm.
equals 30, right? And if it does not, then throw me false. And if it is, then tell me true. So
Yeah,
the analysis would be,
Yeah, so you have to then design it in a different way. For example, you would go like this. Int C equals 30, right? And let's see how to put this through. So you're going to say status equals, all right, equals, not equals to, not equals, it's just equal to, put a bracket, and then you say A plus B, and then you say equals to C, and then you say this. You understand? You're trying to first do the addition of 10 and 20, and then trying to equate whether this 10 and 20 addition is equals to C or not. And then if this whole operation value is coming as a true or a false, you capture that under status, and then you finally, you can go and print it.
system. Okay.
Yeah, so status. And then you go and run this, and then you get the value as true. Let's make it as 25. And you get the value as false, obviously.
Okay, so my logic's correct then. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
your logic is correct. Your logic is correct, but then the way you are asking the question is different, right?
Okay.
This is making sense, because I'm trying to say if A and B, I'm adding it, and then I'm trying to see if it is matching my third variable. Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm happy that Ben, you're asking questions. I need more questions from you guys. If I don't get questions, I'm having an impression that you're understanding it. Please ask questions. No question is a stupid question. So please feel free to ask me any questions that you have in your mind. Madhu, do you have a question for me?
When initializing the boolean, so you can put it as only true, or you can put it as true, false, anything. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can put this on false as well. Whatever, it's a variable at the end of the day, and whatever the actual result comes out of this operation will be then override the value over here. Correct? Yeah. Yeah, Rita, we will cover var args today for sure. Okay. So that is that. Let's move on to the next part of it. That is the relational operator. Let's move on to the other thing. Logical operator. What is logical operator? Logical operator is again going to give you back a result in form of a true and a false. However, in logical operator, basically you're trying to match or trying to, yeah, I would say match multiple conditions, not one, but multiple conditions. Okay, you see here I'm saying if, not if, I'm saying when A is equals to B and A is equals to 10, then give me the value as true. You see, I'm trying to evaluate multiple conditions with the help of a logical operator, which is AND. You see, I want to debug this in front of you. I want to show you how it works step by step. So at this stage, I want to introduce something called as the debugging, which is a very, very, very important aspect of any developer, whether you develop test cases, whether you develop, actual application, doesn't matter. Debugging is always your primary weapon. Okay, so let me actually show this to you. It's very interesting. I'll go into Eclipse. I'll create a new class again, and I'll name the class as logical ops. Good. I'll do a main method and finish. Right. So let's see something. Let's create a Boolean, and then let's name this as result. And let's say this is status. Sorry, this is false. Okay, I'm giving an initial value to it called false. Good stuff. All right, I'll give another value for an integer variable called as 10. I'll go for another integer value variable called b. I'll give it as 20. And then I'll give another variable called as c equals 30. Something similar to what we did earlier. Okay. Now let's check something, how it works. I say result, all right, equal to, I'll give a main bracket. In the main bracket, I'm trying to see something. I'm trying to see if A is equals to B or not. How can I do that? I can take the help of my previous operator, which is relational operator. I can say A equals to B or not. I want to see that. Also, I want to evaluate if C is equals to A plus B or not. All right. I'm trying to evaluate two conditions here. 1 and 2. Can you guys tell me, by looking at these two conditions, if these two conditions are true or not? Are they true?
No,
or
they are
not?
false. Because first and foremost, A is not equals to B. So
Uh-huh.
that's one condition that is not true.
Okay.
And both conditions has to be true to be true. If any of the condition is false, it has to be false, I think.
No, let's go step by step. So A is not equals to B. We all understand that.
Mhm.
Can you tell me if this condition is true? The second condition is true?
C equals to A plus B. C is 30 and A plus B is 30. So this is true.
Very good. Very good. So now we understand the first one is a false condition, and second one is a true condition. I want to show you something. I want to put this true into 3 lines. Okay. I'm putting this whole operation into 3 lines. Why am I doing this? Because I want to show you how the code exactly operates. And to show it to you, let me do one thing. I'll also do a sysout, and I'll go and I'll say result. To show that to you, how exactly this code operates. Obviously, you understand the code will operate from top to bottom. Okay. However, to understand how this code operates, I will add in something called as breakpoint. What is it? It's called breakpoint. Breakpoint. Breakpoint doesn't mean you're breaking something. Breakpoint means you're trying to pause your execution at a specific location. Why you want to do that? You want to do that so that you want to understand how your program is ideally working out. That's what your intention is. So my motive is to add some breakpoints. I can put a breakpoint just by double clicking for any statement that you can see here. I can go and say Boolean result. You see, there's a dot, a blue section over here, a blue dot. All right. That's the breakpoint, line breakpoint on line 7. You see that? Again, I can put a breakpoint line number 10, line number 11, sorry, not 11, line number 12. Line number 11 won't take a breakpoint because it's an operator. So it doesn't take the breakpoint, but wherever I'm creating some calculation, I'm trying to get some solution, I will be able to add a breakpoint. Even in sysout, I will be able to add a breakpoint. Double click on this blue bar in different sections to add the breakpoints. When you add the breakpoints, you would like to run your program in a debug mode. How do you run this program in debug mode? So this is my logical operator class. So far you were running it like this. You were saying right click on this, run as Java application. Instead of this, you would say run as, debug as Java application. Debug as Java application, not run as. When I do that, you will see that a window will pop up in Eclipse saying confirm perspective switch. From Eclipse perspective, from Eclipse point of view, perspective means different kind of layouts. There are different layouts in Eclipse when you perform such operation. So it is basically asking you if you are okay to open the application in debug mode. So I will say no, I don't need that because it will be complex to understand. So I just say remember my decision and say no, just like this. Okay. When I did that, you see my execution got started and immediately it is at pause right now in line number 7. Why? Because there's a breakpoint and the whole line is highlighted green. All right. At this stage, when it is in the debug mode and my breakpoint is at pause, at this stage, this line is not yet executed. Please understand this. If it is at pause, it doesn't mean that it is executed. Okay. As soon as you go to the next line, that means the previous line was executed. Please keep that in mind. If you're at pause, it doesn't mean that it is executed. If you're going to the next line, that means the previous line was executed. Simple. Now, if I go to the next line, how do I go to the next line? I can use the small arrows here. Okay. Step over. You can also hit F6. Okay. Or you can use this small, arrow, turned arrow kind of stuff. And you just go and click on this. Not this one. You can also do step into, but I'll talk about step into later on. But for now, we'll go and say step over. Okay. Let's go. That's where this line was executed. How do I know this line was executed? Let me show you again. Debug as Java application. I'm at pause in line number 7. At this stage, if I hover my mouse on top of the variable name is result. If I hover my mouse on top of the variable result, I will not get anything. I just see that the result is a Boolean variable, and this whole result is a part of a main method, which is under a class called logical ops. That's it. Nothing more than that. However, if I perform the operation to execute like so, now if I hover my mouse on top of result, you will immediately see the value of the result, which is false. That's how you know that the previous line was executed in debug mode. When the line gets executed, obviously, whatever that line was meant for gets completed. Okay, so now it is false. Good. This line is not important to me because I'm just assigning variables. So I just go and say just like that. All right. At this stage, I'm seeing that in my first line, I'm saying A is equals to B. Is it equals to B? From my previous discussion with you guys, it is not equals to B. This condition is false, and this condition is a true. Correct? As per my previous discussion. So if that's the case, let's see if I try to debug it, how does it handle? I'll do a step into again. Sorry, let me delete the drawing. I do a step over again, and let's see what happens. You see, this line was executed, and this line was not even touched. I straight away executed this, and immediately I was thrown to the last line where I can, if I want to resume my program, I hit this play button again, and basically gives me the result as false, which is true. Obviously, it will be false. Okay. Now I'll just do a quick interchange. Whatever is here right now, I'll copy this and paste it again here. And in this situation, I'll go and I'll just do a quick modification.
Sorry, Savik, just so I can understand, in the debug mode, when you're on the highlighted line, what do you need to select before step over to know that the actual line has been executed?
You don't have to select anything. You just have to make your operation. You're basically, you understand that programming is nothing but there are multiple different lines you add, and your Java language basically picks up every line and it executes one by one, like so. Now, whenever you are in the debug mode and you are putting a breakpoint right here, maybe, okay, and you are putting a breakpoint right here, so you are running your program in a debug mode. So what happens is your program will be at pause in that particular line. Now, when you have this paused situation, at this stage, you can try to understand how the program has performed for previous lines, okay, by simply hovering your mouse on top of any one of the variables or methods to understand what is the value that those previous lines were having for a particular,
So the first two lines above it, then you can hover over them and you'll be able to see the values. But for the one that is paused at, you won't be able to see
the values
because it hasn't.
Yeah,
because you haven't run the
exactly,
line.
exactly.
Okay.
So you will not be hovering just on the line. You have to hover on the entity, meaning a variable, something that can contain a data. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now that you understand this, what I'll do is I'll simply comment out this section completely, comment it out, and then let me run this. The same problem, the same exact situation. Instead of putting the C equals B over here, the ground, I'm putting here on the top, and A double equals B. Exact same thing. There is no difference at all. Now at this stage, I go and I do a check one more time. All right. Line number 7, I don't have to do anything. I can directly hit a play button that will let me come to the line number 14. Okay, you don't have to go every line one by one. You can hit the play button, that'll take it to line number 14. Okay. At this stage, my first line is a true, my second line is a false. Let's see how this reacts. Sorry. Do you see that? Do you see that there is a difference? Earlier, as soon as I came across to the first line, it was a false. It immediately took me to this line. However, in this case, when I got into this line, and this was a positive situation, it is now taken me to the next line to check if this condition is a true or not. And then obviously the result will be same, and it'll give me the value as false. As you can see, the value will be false. So what did we learn from this? We learned a very simple strategy or a condition. Okay, that means if I have a condition 1 and condition 2 to evaluate, okay, and I'm using an AND operator. I'm using an AND operator. All right, I'm trying to validate both the condition. If both the conditions are true, then you want to perform some operations, maybe. Okay. Now we understood that when my condition 1 was executed and it gave me the value as a false, there is no point for me to actually check the condition number 2, because anyways, if the first condition is false, then the result of it will be anyways false. Your condition 1 and condition 2 must be true in order to get the full value of this condition check as true. Otherwise, it will be false. So meaning, if the first condition was a false, there is no need to check the second condition at all. However, when I just change it and I said condition 2 is now condition 1, okay, you saw that first condition 1 was checked. First condition 1 was checked and it was a true. Immediately it was a true. It immediately tried to check the second condition because I have an AND operator. I'm trying to check multiple conditions here. If the first condition is true, doesn't mean the second condition will also be true, right? So it is checking the second condition. And if it is true, then the entire result becomes a true or else false. Can you guys tell me if it is understandable or is it complicated to get through?
I have a question about the OR condition. Actually, will you cover?
I will come
Okay.
to that. I'll come
All
to
right,
that.
that's fine. Look,
Others, is it understandable? Fola, not hearing from you. Ifani, I'm not hearing from you.
Yeah, clear. It's clear for me.
No, it's
Okay.
clear. I'm following up. It's clear.
Okay. Madhu, what about you? Hi, Madhu, what about you?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Vaishali?
Yeah, it's clear for me. So thanks.
Good. So now that we understand the AND conditions, let's move on to the OR conditions. OR condition. What is OR condition? Simple. It could be if this could be true or this could be true. If any of the condition is true, then my value is true. Then my result value is true. If any of it. Look at the difference. The same exact strategy I will use. All right. Exact same thing. Meaning,
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry. These operators also work with string, correct? So you just change it.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
However, with string, you will not use double equal. All right. You will use string name equals Solvik, for example. Right? And string name2 equals right, my last name. So if I want to check if name is equals to name2 or not, I will not go and say double equal. I'll go and say sysout. I'll go and say name dot equals. There is a method called as equals, and then you say name2. Okay, you don't use a double equal. Double equal works with numbers and numbers, decimal or integer or whatever. Okay.
So what about the ors and the not equal to the not or?
Yeah, you can just use not equals to like this. You see, you have an exclamation that becomes a not equals to. All right.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So, okay, now I'll exactly explain the same thing in terms of OR now. How it is OR? OR is again simple again. So I'll do a result. The same thing, I'll just comment it out for now, or maybe I'll keep it on, that's fine. And I'll say, I'll copy this again, paste it here. And this time I will not, okay, my bad. I'll copy this section so that I can prove something to you. So, okay, so now, good. Instead of and.
Sorry, I just want to ask a question.
Yep.
During this debugging, the indentation, does it matter? This and then when you're making it 3 lines.
No,
okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
There are a few languages like Python, right? It depends on indentation, okay, but not here. It is fine. Okay, Java is okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say breakpoint here. I'll add a breakpoint here. I'll remove other breakpoints. Double click on it again, and they will be removed. And here, instead of and, I say or. Or comes with a pipe sign, like so, right? A pipe sign, all right? That's an or. Earlier we saw when I used the and, I saw that this was false situation, and immediately it didn't even check this guy. I would straight away take into the printout. However, with or situation, let's see how that works. So sysout, basically, so this condition is a false, and this condition is a true. Condition false and condition true. Okay, good. Let's see how it works with or now. I go and I go and I debug this. Okay, so from the first line number 22, it got the value as false, no problem at all. Now let's see what is the value that I get out of this now. Okay, I'm saying A equals to 5, B. Is it true? It's not, it's a false. So let's do a step over. Even if it is false, With the OR condition, it is checking for the next result, next evaluation. Is it true or false? Obviously, this is true. So meaning if any one of the conditions is having the value as true, the result will be a true. So it first checked this condition and then this condition. It found this to be true, so it's true. If both the conditions are false, then the overall result becomes a false, otherwise not. Okay? Is this understandable? That's the OR situation.
So how would you apply that to string? Is it the same method?
With the equals, yeah, absolutely, same method. I mean, or
So would you just state the OR? Would you just do the dot OR?
No.
No.
No. This thing will be always the same. The equals.
No, for string. You know, for string,
Yeah. Let me show you.
Yeah.
So you say result equals name2 dot equals, right? Name2, and then you go and say OR, just like that. And then you say, for example, you have a name3, string name3, and you give some value, I don't know, Dublin. And then you go and you say name2, or yeah, 1 minute. I go name2 dot equals name3. You see, you are evaluating two conditions here very easily. The first condition is this, second condition is this, with OR operator. I think you're confusing between equals and OR and AND.
I just wanted to know how you would do it with the string. How?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good. All right. Okay. So that's that. So that brings us to the end of the logical operator. Okay. Let's move on to the next part. Pre and postfix operator, assignment operators, ternary operators. Okay. Array rules, loops, while loop, do while loop, for each loop, var args. Okay. I'll cover this rest of it in a while. I'll take a quick 5 minutes break and come back. You guys will take a break as well. I'll talk about pre and postfix operators and assignment operators and a few other things with operators. All right. 5 minutes break and we'll regroup. Thank you, guys. All right. So now that we understand different kind of operators, let's try to look at a few more. These are quite simple ones. Pre and post fix operator. All right. If I ask you to, okay, let me go and create a class. I'll say pre-post ops. All right. I missed a main method, not to worry. You can just do main and control space. That gives you the option. All right. If I am asking you to add a number to an existing variable, basically, if I'm asking you to increment a variable value, how would you do that? You would say int a equals, say, 20. And you can say int a equals, if you want to increment it by 2, you say int a equals a plus 2, right? Which means the value of 20 gets another value 2, and becomes 22. And then you go sys out A, and that prints the value for you, which is 20. Proceed. Yeah. Why are you having unresolved? Oh, my bad. Okay. What was the problem? The problem is I already created integer A, and I'm trying to create it one more time. I didn't notice that. So I remove this int. In the second line, I'm just trying to make an operation. So if I go and run this now, I get the value as 22 because I added 2 to it. Okay. There are multiple ways to perform the same operation. You could say A plus equal to 2 as well. Even that's a right statement. A plus equals 2, another way of writing it, another way of writing the same line. Okay. And you go and run this now, and you get the value as 24 now. Correct? So here I'm incrementing it by 2 or by 3 or by 10, doesn't matter. But basically it means that you're incrementing the existing value by the new, by the number that you're specifying here. Okay. You can do the same thing by using something called as plus plus. So what does it mean? You go and say A plus plus. What does it mean? A plus plus, you can see it means that you're adding 1. You're incrementing the value of A by 1. That's all it means. Incrementing the value of A by 1 is what you mean. All right. So if that's the case, then what we can do is we can simply perform some operation, meaning I go and I can say A plus plus, and then I go and say I want to print out sys out of A, and then I go and say sys out plus plus A, and then I go and say sys out A again. All right. In both the case, whether I add it at the back or at the front, in both the case, the value of A is getting incremented by 1. But then there is a difference between A plus plus and plus plus A, which is what I'm trying to show you here. Okay. So let's go and do a quick check. All right. Putting 4 breakpoints and quickly trigger this. Not this. Yeah, pre and post, right? So debug as Java application. I'm pausing in line number 12, and this line is not yet executed. This line is not yet executed. Can you guys tell me, once this line is executed, what will be the value that it will be printing over here in the console? Let me ask Madhushmita. Madhu, what do you think will be printed?
Once it is executed, it will be 25.
Okay. What about Fola?
25 as well.
Ronan?
25.
All right.
Sorry, not 24.
I think you're gonna print 24 until it's
24.
asked to print A.
Let's see. I'll do a step over. It prints 24. Why? Up to line number 10, the value of it is 24. I ran this line, and it is showing me the value 24 still. Why is this? This is called as postfix operator when you're adding it at the end of the number. which means, firstly, the entire operation of the printout will happen. And then at the back end, in the background, the value of A will be incremented by 1. It's a postfix operator. So firstly, line number 12 will get executed. So when line number 12 gets executed, without considering the incrementation, as it is a postfix operator, obviously it will print me the 24 value, because up till 10, line number 10, I got the value as 24. Okay, once the line gets executed, that's where the plus plus at the end will make the operation to increment the value of A by 1, which is why line number 14 will give you the value as 25, as you can see here. Exactly the opposite happens for line number 16 and line number 18, meaning in line number 16, as it is a prefix operator, first, only this much section will be executed, which will make the incrementation, which will be completing the implementation by 1. And then the sysout will come in place to get printed. So which will, I'll go and say 26. And obviously, once it is 26 printed, there is no more incrementation happening anywhere. So line number 18 will also be 26. That's the logic of postfix and prefix operator. Is this understandable? Yes, no. Confusing.
Yeah, that's yeah. It was a bit confusing, but yeah, that's clear. It's clear now.
Yeah. Good stuff. So that's the prefix and postfix operator. Let's move on to the next one. Madhushmita, is it clear to you now?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So assignment operator. What is assignment operator? It's just the same thing. I'm trying to say A is 5, B is 6, A plus equals to B. It is exactly the same thing that I just showed you a minute back, where I'm saying A plus equals to 2, which means you are simply adding 2 to the existing value. So you go and say, let me print it here. Okay, you go and say A plus equals to 2, means you are incrementing the value of A by 2. Okay, similarly for minus, division, multiplication, and modulus, all the same. All right, that's the assignment operator. So that brings us to the end of operators in Java. Whatever I showed you so far will not register in your mind. I told you last week as well. I'll tell this to you every week. Whatever I'm telling you, it will not register into your mind unless you put in the effort. Saturday, Sundays, and your whole week is there for you to practice and put in the efforts. Without efforts, nothing will show. I mean, you will not see the true colors, as simple as that, right? So practice and practice and practice. It is not a simple thing, but yeah, this is the only way you can really get it done. All right, let's move on to the next part. Okay, yeah, there is one more operator called ternary operator. I was missing that. What is ternary operator? All right, ternary operator is basically a combination of two operators, ideally. Basically a question mark here and a colon here. Okay. What does it do? Why do you really care to learn this? So I'm just going to show you straight here in this screen that I have a variable called as result. So the idea is I'm evaluating a condition. If the condition is true, then I will be accepting a value. If the condition is false, then I will be accepting a different value. That's all. So if the condition is true here, if A is equals to B, if this condition is true, then I get the value as 10 assigned to the variable result. If not, I get the 6 assigned to the variable result. Okay, A equals B. If it is true, then I get 10, else I get 6. That's all ternary operator is doing. Okay, it's a cleaner way to basically write if-else conditions. Okay, which I have discussed later. If-else conditions I've discussed later. If it is having any question, if you have any questions with ternary operator, just shoot. Let's move on to the next part. Arrays, a very, very important concept to understand. Array rules and loops, and then we have varargs. Okay, and that's where we will be ending it. Wait a minute, let me check one more stuff here as a part of class 2. Okay. Here at the very end, I believe I have spoken about classes and objects. I will not start classes and objects today. I will enable you with week number 2 right after this call. And then you start learning about classes and objects, which is a very detailed discussion that I want to take up in the next class. I don't think you guys will have enough energy to learn about them now. So starting tomorrow, learn these guys, come back to me in the next class so that the discussion can go smoother. We talk about arrays now. What is an array? I'll go back to my Java. And in here, new class, I say test arrays. Okay. What is an array? So array is basically a part of Java collection in which Java collection in which you are trying to add multiple values, multiple similar type of values inside one single entity. If I ask you to store 5 integers right now in the memory of Java, you would do int a equals 35, int b equals, and b equals 70, so on and so forth, right? Total 5 of them. You will do that. However, you can also be smarter and you can do the whole thing under one single variable. And that variable type is called as arrays. You're trying to store multiple values under one single entity, which is an array. Okay. How do you define an array? It's very simple. You go and you write it like this. You say int, a square bracket, which means an array. And you say nums equals, right? And then you go and you say new int, and then square bracket, and then you say a value here. You give a value here. Don't get confused, it's very simple, all right? You're trying to create a variable, which is an array variable called nums. So array variable called nums. Good. Nums is an integer array, right? Int array, meaning it can only store integers. All right. How many integers it can store? You are defining that with the size of it. You're saying new int 5. New is a keyword in Java, which we will understand in the next week. It is basically to create the object. What is an object? We'll talk about that later on. But for now, you can understand there's a syntax which will let you create 5 empty boxes inside virtual memory, inside Java virtual memory. And it is now ready to accept some numbers. So basically you're creating a strip of data which has 5 different empty boxes. Something like this. Okay. In array, the size of the array is 5, as I have defined. In array, all the values that you will store, they will be having a position, or we call it as index. So the first element will have the index number 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, and then 4. The last guy will have the 4 index, like the index number 4. You can notice and you can see that if the size of the array is 5, then the last index will be size minus 1 always, right? You see, if the size of the array is 5, then the last index will be size number 1, size minus 1, right? So that's the index. At this stage, I have created 5 empty boxes, which can store integers only. All right. Now, I say nums 0 equals 25. Nums 3 equals 36. Out of this 5 boxes, I am giving the value to the first box as 25. And then I'm giving the third index as the value as 36. 25, 36. Good. Let me show you how does it look like from the Java memory perspective. So I'll do a sysout. I'll put a breakpoint right here, line number 15. Okay. And then also I'll put a breakpoint line number 11. And then let's try to run this or debug this. Okay. When I do the debug, yeah, okay, I want to save that. It is stopping in line number 11. And now let's hover in the variable nums. You see, line number 11 is not yet executed. So I'm hovering my mouse on line number 9, variable nums, and you can see something. Look at it very well. Okay. You see, I created 5 indexes or 5 spaces to store integer. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see they have the indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And all of them are having the value 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Why is that? Because it's an integer variable. It's an integer array. So by default, Java will give the default value of 0 to the integer variable. To any integer variable, it will automatically give a default value, which is 0. And that's what is happening. It's giving an default value of 0 to it. Now, at this stage, I am executing line number 11 and line number 12, just like this. When I do that, I hover my mouse on nums, and you can see now it is 25 added and 36 added to 0 and 3rd index. Rest of them are still 0. Can you guys tell me if you have any questions with arrays so far? Whatever I just said. Is it making sense or not? Ben, any questions?
No. So I guess when you wanted to use string inside an array, it has to be the same element. You can't mix integer with string.
Actually, you can do it,
Okay.
but there is a specific way to do it, which I can talk when we talk about inheritance. When I talk about inheritance, then I can talk about how can we do that. But for now, we are just taking basic example of array.
Okay. Okay then.
All right. Others, Fola, Ifni, Madhu.
Yeah, I'm following.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay for me. I
Okay.
understand.
Nick is asking question that if you print them, will it leave the zeros or just leave spaces? It will print zeros for me. Whatever the value it is, it will print that for me. Because the value is registered in that index. Okay, good. So that is that. Let's move on to the next part.
Sorry, what's the maximum of the arrays? What? How many arrays? Like boxes, indexes, or something? Tables can you create?
N number.
What is the maximum?
There is no limit to it.
Okay.
You can create n number of arrays, array indexes, or array size. But ideally, it is arrays are having a problem. With arrays, there is a problem. The problem is that the size of the array is constant, and you cannot go beyond a specific size. I mean, you cannot go beyond a specific size you have already specified. When you say the array is of index, I mean size 5, I cannot go and put another value on the end. You see, if I try to do this, if I say nums, and if I try to say, so I see my last index as 5, right? But if I try to access the index number 5 here, which is not even there, okay? If you put the value as 100, okay? And if I run this, you will see I'm getting an exception right there. It's saying array index out of bound exception, meaning what? Meaning I'm trying to access an index in an array which doesn't even exist. So it's quite clear. Okay. So you cannot dynamically increase the size of the array. That's the problem with an array. Okay. Which is why the next entity that you will be learning in terms of collection is called array list, which can which can increase or decrease its size depending on the values that you're sending at it.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Vaishali, all good?
Quickly,
I'm good.
the system out now, if you put nums there to print, it will print the 5. Okay.
No, sorry, I didn't get that.
In the system out print, right? In the bracket, if you put nums there to print num, you print the 5 00 25 00 36 0, right?
No, it won't. Let me show you. It gives this.
No, you wrote nums instead of, okay, yeah. Why?
This is basically the hash code of this entity. This is a variable which is basically storing all these values, and every values is having an index.
Okay.
So if they have an index, you can only access them with an index. So if I go and say, give me the nums of 3, that's where you get the value of 36.
So the only way we can get the distance is to iterate.
With the index, yes.
Okay.
You
Within
can,
that, to iterate through the, okay, yeah.
You can only get the values from it with the help of index.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
So another question I had was, so what is the benefits of using array over array list? I know other than it being a constant kind of like values, or constant kind of like a table, what's the benefits?
The biggest benefit, as I said, it is helping you to store n number of data dynamically. At the same time, array list also comes along with a lot of different methods, which will let you perform different kind of operations. For example, you want to sort something, you want to check array list number 1 along with array list number 2. You want to add some value into it, you want to delete some value from the array list. Those kind of things can be done as a part of array list. But I think if I start talking about array list, it'll be a complete different chapter. So I think I should skip that for now and talk to you when the right time comes. So yeah,
Okay, I just wanted to compare the two and see,
Yeah, for now you can just keep in mind that array list can dynamically grow, okay, which is not a feature that array will provide.
Okay.
Whatever the size you specify for array, you will have to work with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good. So that is that. Let's move on to the next part. Array rules, I spoke about them. Loops. There are 4 different type of loops that we will be considering working on: for, while, do while, for each, and we'll go through all of them. All right. I'll do it right here in the array list and arrays. And then what I'll do is actually I will quickly assign all the values to it. I mean, for all the indexes, I'll go and I'll put the values to them. Index number 1, say 22 to 33, some numbers I'm giving. For right, I have finished all my information. I've added all the values to different indexes that we have in this array. And once I have this, let's try and talk about the loops. There are 4 different kind of loops that we'll be talking about. A for loop. What is a for loop? For loop, basically, what is a loop? Loop is basically a mechanism using which you can perform an operation multiple times without repeating the same statement over and over again. Meaning, if I ask you to print out your name, you would go sysout and you give the name. You give the name like Sovic, right? And if I'm asking you to write this line for 100 times, you have to say this 100 times like this, right? You have to say this 100 times like this so that it can be printed 100 times in the console. And that's a stupid way of doing the job. You don't want to do it. You want to simply use a loop and you want to perform whatever the operation you want to perform, you perform it within the loop and the loop will do it for those number of times you have defined. Simple as that, meaning the same statement, I can put this into a for loop. So the syntax goes like this: for int I equals 10 equals 0, I less than 100, and I plus plus. I plus plus means incrementation. You're incrementing the value of 1 of I, and then whatever this value is, you go and put this here. within the loop, within the scope of the loop, which means that the statement is now going to be executed 100 times. How do I know that? Because I'm starting the loop from an initial starting point of 0 till 100, basically till 99. I'm saying I less than 100. So it is 99. And then to reach 99, I'm incrementing the value by 1. So basically in the for loop, you have 3 different sections. Number 1 is the initial value of a counter, okay? And then the second thing that you have is where do you want to go? What do you want to, where do you want to go in terms of the counter? Like till what number you want to count? So till what number you want to count, which means basically the range, right? Which means the range, okay? Or upper limit, whatever you say, or limit, okay? And then how do you want to reach your upper limit? Do you want to go just by 1, incrementing the value by 1, incrementing the value by 2 or 10, whatever it is? So if it is by 1, if you want to increment the value by 1, then you say the counter, whatever the counter is, and then you say plus plus. That means you're countering by 1. If you want to increment it by 10, you go plus equals 10. You're counting the value by 10, right? That's how the loop works, the for loop works. You're giving an initial value of the counter and then till what limit you want to go and how you want to go, correct? So to prove this, I say I plus plus and then 100 times. I go and run this. And you see, I ran it for 100 times, right? Till 100 times, okay? That's a smart way of doing it. If I want to increment it by 10, can I do that? Yeah, I can. I say I plus equals to 10. And then I go and run this. You see, I should be printing it 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's it. Correct? So you see, I can do the looping depending on these 3 conditions or these 3 situations. Can you give me an understanding? You understand this or not? I mean, are you okay with this or not? For loop is a simple loop. Whatever you put within the loop, that executes that many number of times, depending on these 3 parameters.
So those 3 parameters, especially the one in the middle, greater than or less than.
Yeah,
you can use other kind of
it's not going to be greater than. I mean,
no. I'm just saying, for example, not this example, but you can use greater than or less than in this.
You can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that ever change? Can you ever use like arithmetics in this particular parameter, or
what do you mean by that?
Like I don't know. I was just wondering if there's anything else that could be used within these parameters.
No. So only these 3 things are required. Initial state of the counter, where do you want to go with the counter, and how do you want to go? These 3 things that you need. For example, so for here you understand, I'm counting from 0 to 100. What if I want to count from 100 to down, 100 to 0? Can I do that? Oh yeah, I can.
Yeah. I minus minus.
Yeah, I minus minus. Very good, right? So basically you go and say for, and you go and say int I, and the I value, let's start with 100, and then
less than equals.
Yeah, exactly. That's really good. Thank you. Yeah. You say I less than equals, say 1, and then you want to say I minus minus. All right. And then you are just counting down. Sys out. And you want to just print the value of I, because I is the counter. Go to print the value of I, and then you go run this, and then you say, you see, from 99, from 100 till 1, you count it down.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Good. All right, so just wanted to know so far, the way I'm explaining things, is it making your life easier to clear out doubts, or it's making you more confused? How is it going?
It's going well for me.
Yeah, it's quite clear for me. And
okay, what about others?
Yeah, same here. It's more clear for me.
Madhu?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever the doubts you had before joining the training in terms of, like, you know, the programming per se, and you were kind of a little bit skeptical, do you think it is kind of getting more clearer now? Are you getting that confidence now that, yeah, this is doable, it's not something coming out of the world?
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
I think so.
All right. Nikki?
Yeah, for sure. It's making things much clearer.
Okay, perfect. Okay, good stuff. Ronan? Rita?
Yeah, no, everything's getting clear for me now as well.
Yeah, perfect. Good stuff. That's with the for loop. Let's move on to the next one, which is a do while loop. Sorry, a while loop. Let's go and talk about while loop. So what is a while loop? All right. So for loop, one simple thing to remember, for loop works on range. Range. You give a range, a starting point, start to finish. You define a start to finish, and how do you want to reach the finish? Right? That's with the for loop. Simple. Okay. While loop doesn't work like that. While loop works on a condition. A condition. All right. As long as a condition is true, the loop will keep on iterating. As long as a condition is true, the loop will keep on iterating. Okay, let's go and prove that to you. So I go and say while, all right, let's go and say Boolean first. Boolean, and I go, the value of the Boolean is, the name of the Boolean variable is status equals true. So I'm setting the value of a Boolean variable equals true. So I'm saying while, right? While status equal to true, as long as the value of status remains true, I want to iterate. I want to iterate. That's the situation with while loop. As long as the condition remains true, I want to iterate. I can either say it like this, right, with a equal sign, or I can just go and remove the whole part like this. It's the same thing. So when you're dealing with a Boolean variable, you need not specify it like so. You need not say that status equals to true. You need not say that. And because it's a Boolean variable, you can just say, you can just remove this part, and you can just say, yeah, while status, which means it will consider that status is equals to true. If you want to say status equals to false, it would go like this, not status. Different way of writing it. Okay, nothing fancy happening here. Okay, so while not status, or while status equals to true. All right. So anyway, I'm saying as long as the while status is true, I want to iterate. Okay. So idea is whatever the values I have. Okay, actually, you know what? Before I go and start this, let me just handle this guy with the for loop. All right. For int I equals 0, right? I'm saying int I equals 0 in this situation because the array is starting from the index number 0, and it will go to the index number 4. How can I define that in for loop? It's very simple. I'll go and say I less than. You see, arrays will always have a property called as a length. So you can say something like this. You can say nums dot length. So length of nums is 5. So I want to basically go from 0 to less than 5, which is 4. All right. And then I say I plus plus. Simple. That's my for loop for the array iteration. And then I just say sys out. And then I just say whatever the array is, that's the array names, nums. And within that, you add a square bracket. And the square bracket I showed you, right? If you want to get the value of third index, you put the square bracket and you say 3, right? Same thing. Here I say square bracket and I go and I say I. I is a variable which will keep on iterating or incrementing. And then for every incrementation or every iteration, I get the value of nums. So I go and run this. You see, I get all these values, right? With the for loop. Okay, let's do the same thing with a while loop now. So while loop works with conditions. So I just go and say conditions, while status, right? As long as this while status is true, it will keep on iterating. Simple. Now, what do I do is I go and say, let's execute something. So I go and say, if I want to print all these values, I must be somehow changing the index. You understand that, right? I must be changing the index, correct? So let me do something like this. Let me do int. Okay. In while loop, I don't have a initial starting point, right? So let me create one for this case. I'll say int count equals 0. You see, in for loop, I have a starting point. In while loop, I don't. So I'm creating one. Int count equals 0. So I'm saying as long as while status equals true, keep on printing the data inside the array. So I can go and say sys out. And I can go and say, I want to print the value of nums. And then I want to say nums in square bracket. I go and say count, correct? I'm going to say count because count is the iterator for me. It's iterating. It's going to help me to change the index. So that's my value here. So I told you the value of this count must be incremented as well. So I can go ahead and say count plus plus. And then I go and run this. When I run this, you'll see a failure. Okay, you saw a failure. You see, it did print all the values right from here to here. And then finally, it throws me with an exception. Whatever you see here is an exception. You see the keyword exception, which means it's an exception, runtime exception, saying array index out of bound. Okay, can you guys give me an understanding? Why did I get that? Why did I get the array index out of bound exception in this loop? I want to hear like word by word the exact theory behind it. Yeah, follow.
Is it because we didn't set a limit to the count integer?
Obviously, but question is, why did I even reach the index 5? I could have just finished my loop within the while section, and then I could have got out. My question is, why did I even reach the index number 5? Yeah, Ronan, you want to try? Anyone wants to try?
This is because it goes from 1 to 5 and your array goes from 0 to 4. So it's out of range when it's looking for 5.
Yeah, that is true. It got to the last number 5 and it failed. I understand that. But the question is, why did I even reach 5? Why did it not finish the loop within the range of the array?
Is it because there's no condition given to breakouts and it's continuing to count plus plus?
Exactly. Very well said. That's the exact answer I wanted. So see this. The value of status is always true. The value of status is always true. I'm not changing that at all. So I'm saying as long as the value of status is true, you keep on iterating. All right, that's the condition for the while loop. So it hits the line number 42 and it gets the value as 0. The index number count is 0. Good. It prints 25. All right. Then it increments by 1. The loop iterates again because the value of status is still true. It goes to the index number 1. It prints 22, so and so forth till 55. It prints all the values. The loop continues to run further. Status is still true. No one is bothered. I am not doing anything to change the value of status true to false. I'm not doing anything, right? So status is still true, which means the while loop will anyway iterate. So while loop obviously iterated. Now the count is finished. I mean, the value of count is 5, but there is no existence of 5th index in the nums, which is why it failed. Is this clear? Madhu, I remember you were talking about while loop and you were not understanding like how it works at all. Is this now getting clear?
Yeah, I understood.
So, Vaishali, what about you?
Sorry, where do we specify the condition to stop?
Yeah, I haven't.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
That's the reason why I got the exception, and then my loop broke because the exception happened.
So to create the condition, you would have to create another like integer.
No.
To stop the condition.
No. You don't need to.
Okay.
What you do is this. You can basically use if situation. You can say if nums dot length, that is the size of the array, if it is equals to the value of the counter starts from 0, but eventually it reaches 5. If it is, then you would like to break out. So you can go and say there is a keyword called break, and this will break the loop. I'll give you 2 solutions for breaking out of the loop, right? This is with the help of a keyword called break. I'm saying if nums.length matches the value of count, then break. So if I go and run this, I'll get the values all printed and exception is not there, all good. That's number one. Number two option is, let me copy and paste. Number two option is remove this line from here and put it after the count. Instead of breaking, I can say status is now equals to false. You see that? I change status equals to false now because nums.length is equal to count. If that is, then I say, sorry, then I say it's false. And if it's false, the slip will not even run. So I go and run this again and all good. No, wait a minute. There is some thing that I missed out. So I do a count plus plus. So count plus plus will be, oh, okay. So it start from 0. Oh yeah. 1 minute. Oh yeah. You know why? Okay. Tell me why it is failing. Can someone tell me why it's failing?
It's should it be count -1? No.
No. Look. I put a breakpoint here. Okay, and a breakpoint here. Let's run this. Okay, I'll just go straight to here. Okay, so I go and run this through, and then you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then finally break. Okay, so I broke out. Now the next loop should start, correct? Look at this. It printed all of them from the previous one. Now the next loop should start. So it started the loop. It is having the first line here. It runs and it fails. Right there. It didn't even iterate others. Can you tell me why? It's a very simple question, but if you look at it closely, you should be able to find it out.
You haven't specified a break?
No.
No.
Nothing to do with the break.
So not sure.
Count is already.
Yeah, go on. Somebody was saying, what is it? Count is again? Sorry?
Count is already at the limit. Or...
Exactly. Very good. Look at it. It's quite understandable, right? Because at the end of this while loop, the value of count is already 5. So obviously, num's count of 5 is not there and it will fail. So meaning I should be resetting my now count value to 0. Right? Simple. When you do the programming, you have to open up your eyes and look at the situation and then try to figure it out. I'm not saying it will come from day 1, but as and when you practice more, things will, be in your hand. Okay. Let's run this. Yeah.
Because we didn't put initiate counter to be equals to 0.
No, the count of the value is. I have mentioned the count of the value is 0 here. So by the end of this while loop, it is 5. And then I'm resetting the value to 0 again. So that it can be used, so that this value of count can be used again for this loop. Right? Is that clear?
Yeah, I understand it now.
Okay. Let's go and run. And you see, I got all of them. So there are 2 ways to break out. Number 1, you use a break keyword. Or number 2, you change the condition completely. Okay. So that's with the for loop and while loop. All right. What does a do while loop? Do while loop is very simple. Okay. Do while loop, to be very true, people will not even use it much. So I'm again setting back my count value to 0, count equals 0, because that is anyway needed. And then the format is like this: do and while. Basically, I go and I put the same thing, exact same thing in this. And then I go and say while, and then I go and say status, right? Status. Okay, now here you have to look at it minutely one more time. What is do while loop ideally? So the while loop runs as long as this condition over here is a true. Whatever condition you pass here, as long as it is true, the while loop will keep on iterating, no problem. But do while loop is a situation which is exactly works like while loop, but it gives you one more additional feature, and that is, even if this condition is a false, even if the condition is false, the do while loop will at least iterate one time, at least. How do I prove that? You see, in this while loop over here, the status is a false at this stage. I mean, when this loop ends, you know that I have changed the status to false. So the variable status is false now. Okay. So ideally, this loop should not be even executed. However, because it is a do while loop, it will at least execute once, and then it will figure it out that, okay, it is false, so it will not iterate more than that. Let me show you. I put a breakpoint over here, and then let's go and run this. Okay. Sorry. All right. Okay. So actually, I'll just run this. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So I finished all the loops here. Everything got printed, as you can see. All right. I finished both the loops here. All right. If you hover your mouse on top of the variable called status, you will see the value of status is false. It's not true anymore because I have done this changing. I've changed the value of status to false in line number 52. So that's done. Now you see the while loop, this do while loop, even if the status is false, this do while loop will let you execute the program at least once, which is why I entered the do section and I'm iterating it. All right. And then while loop, it will come to this condition, it will check it as false. So it'll come out. It'll come out just like that. All right. So at least the first value you were able to retrieve. Okay. So there are different kind of loops. You might be thinking that, all right, when to use what type of loops? That is one of the biggest questions that I see most of the guys will ask me. But the answer to it is, I cannot really give you the answer at this stage, because from our learning perspective, when we actually start dealing with situations like multiple elements, all right, multiple web elements, or multiple components to work with, or multiple data to retrieve, okay, that is where we will see the usage of loop. And I cannot take you to that level at this stage. For now, we are trying to grab these small components of the entire program, like Java programming language. And then later we will know how to stitch them together. Okay. So that's the do while loop. Can you guys tell me, can you guys confirm that this is understandable? The do while loop. Is it okay? All good? Photo, Tiffany, Madhu, all good. Madhu, is it good?
Yes.
Okay. Finally, the last loop that I want to talk about is a for each loop. I love to use for each loop, obviously, for a specific condition. When I say specific condition, I mean about when I try to deal with collections. That's where I like to deal with for each loop. How? Let's see, it's a collection, right? It's a collection of integers. So in terms of for each loop, you don't need to deal with any counter, any range, any status, any logic, nothing. If it is a collection, then for each loop is your best friend. Okay, you can easily iterate through the collection with the for each loop. All you have to do is to understand what is that loop is made of. Is that loop is containing integers or they are containing something else, right? So how do you do this? You say for this is an int. I know the array is holding integers. I know the array is holding integers. So for int, okay, num colon nums. Simple syntax. I know the array, which is nums, it is an integer array. So all you do is you say int, you give a variable called as a, b, c, d, num, whatever, right? You give a colon and then you give the actual array to play with or iterate. What's the idea behind it? The idea is very simple. The idea is that you have given the array to it. This is an array, right? With some values, 25, 56, 78, 60, 90, whatever, right? With these values. This is an array. Multiple values here. So the idea is the for each loop will take care of iterating through each and every one of them on its own. It has its own internal mechanism. What it will do is it will pick up while iterating, it will pick up one entity or one index at a time and will simply put this into this variable. Iteration 1, it'll put this to num. Iteration 2, it'll put this to num. 3 and 4, right? It'll put them one by one to the num variable. And then all you do is you say sysout. All you do is you say num. Sorry. Yeah. You say whatever the values you are getting inside the num variable, you want to print them out. That's your motive. And you go and you run this. And you see, I was able to print all of them. I didn't deal with anything. No counter, no range, no status, nothing. It picks them up one by one and prints them or supplies it inside the block. Then you can do anything with it. Is this okay to understand for each loop? Yes, no? Okay.
So sorry.
Yeah.
So in what situation do you use this?
So you just saw me creating an array and basically used all different kind of loops to handle the same array, right?
Yeah.
So basically, when you're dealing with multiple components, you can use different kind of loops to handle them, to retrieve the value. When you have multiple components, you can retrieve them with the help of loops. For each loop is specifically designed for collections. So basically, for an array or array list or hash map or tree map, so all these different collections, the for each loop is built with or is built for. However, I also showed you that without the usage of for each loop, you can still handle array elements with the help of normal for loop or while loop. Is this understandable?
Yeah, the reason why I asked is it just seems so straightforward.
Yeah, it is.
Compared to the other ones.
Yes, it is. It is specifically designed for collections.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. That's the end of the loop. All right. There is one more thing I wanted to cover. Rita, you told me to cover the var args, but I think it's better that we should start next week on this, because I think I need to talk about methods, Java methods, and then I should be using something called as a parameter for var args, and then I should show you a loop that will work out. Otherwise, the discussion will be incomplete, and I don't want to do that. So let me come back to it.
Agreed.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
Agreed. Yeah, sure.
Madhu, tell me something. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, will it work for the collection of strings also?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me do that. So
actually, we are taking all the examples with, int. So
yeah.
The assignment, I'm getting confused when it is
No
string.
problem. No, absolutely not. So string array, give names. By the way, there are multiple ways to create an array. I showed you one way here, which is you give the size of the array and then you set the value like this with indexes. There is also another way to do it. If the string names equals to, you can give a flower bracket, and then you can specify the names, whatever names you want to add. So I give Madhu, I give Ronan, I give Nikki, I give Fola, right? And these are my string of array, multiple names, and then I can use all the for loops that I showed you, but I'll go and handle this with for each. So I go string name colon names, as simple as that, and then sys out name. That's it, and go and run. You get the values just like that. Is that clear, Madhu? Yeah. Perfect. So I think that's where I end my class for today. We'll talk about the var args later on.
Wait, so Vic, so you can still use index to print out any of the names in this array?
No, I didn't.
I say you can use index.
You can, absolutely. Whatever methods I showed you earlier, you can use all of them. At the end of the day, you're just creating a simple strip of data. It could be integer, string, Boolean, character, whatever. Right? Let me show you a quick thing, as we are talking about. So right now, I'm printing out. Okay, right now I'm printing out these names in a horizontal manner, right? What if I want to print it in this manner? Can I do it? Can I say M A D H U? Can I do it like this? And if I want to do it, what will be my strategy? The strategy will be something like this. So you see, I'm going to show you to write a complex loop, a loop that can run within a loop, a nested loop. So let me talk about this. I didn't talk about this in the video, but nested loops, right? What's a nested loop? You see, this first loop is giving me the name Madhu, Ronan, Nikki, Fola, all of them, good stuff. So I can do something like this. I can do a string. Oh, I don't need to. I already have the value called name. That's good. So name is basically what? It is a string, but if you look at it closely, it is basically characters. M, A, D, H, U. They are all characters. So if they are characters, then can I loop through the characters? I may. So what I can do is I can do a loop like this within the main for loop, where I go and say int I equals 0. You see, the outer loop is a for each loop. However, the inner loop, I'm making it as a normal loop. So int I equals 0, I less than, name is basically a string. So I can say name dot length. You see, length is a method of the string. This will tell me what is the size of this length. So it is MADHU, so 5, meaning I should be iterating it 5 times and pick up each and every character one by one and print them. Can I do it? Let's see. So I go and say I++. All right. See, a for loop that gives me name, and then a for loop that gives me each and every character. Yeah. So once I have each and every character, then I can do something like this. So it is going to give me the index. All right. Index number 1, or character number 1, character number 2, something like this. So character number 0, right? I'm going to use a method called as char at. Okay, let me show you. So sys out, okay, name dot char at I. So look at this. Don't get confused. It's simple to follow. Look at this. One more time. I'm taking the name, each and every name from this array of names. So the first name is Madhu, right? So I got the value called Madhu. And then I am looping around each and every character of the string Madhu. So MADHU, that's the plan. So I'm using a for loop again. This is a normal loop. This is not a for each loop. And then in this normal for loop, I'm saying I want to go from 0 to the length of this name. So which is 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 will be will be iterated, right? And then I'm saying a method, then there's a method called name.char@. So this character at method, which is a part of the name variable, is a string, right? The string is having a method called char@. This char@ method will tell me by giving its index, then what is that character I found in index number 1? So it's M. Again, the loop will iterate. It will tell you it is A, and then D, and then H, and then U. Okay, and they will be printed in a horizontal manner. So once this whole values is printed, I also want to print a sys out. And I want to basically add a delimiter or a partition between two names. So let me go and give a partition like this. All right, let's go and see if this works. I'll explain it one more time. Don't worry. Run. Look at this, how sweet it is. You see, MADHU, a partition, Ronan, partition, Nikki, Fuller. You see that? So each and every character was taken up and printed. And this was my inner for loop. That was my inner for loop, which did that, right? The outer for loop gave me the name. The inner for loop broke down into characters and printed them. And then after this for loop is finished for one name, I'm printing this line, which is why you see this separation. And then the next name starts. That's how. Do you think it's a good thing to see? I mean, is it understandable and interesting?
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always struggled to understand the nested loops the most, so it was really good to see that.
Perfect. Good stuff. All right. Awesome. We'll talk about nested loops even further in future. But for now, that's the end of the story for today's class. I'm glad that you guys are liking it, and I will be enabling you for week number 2. That is by end of the day. I mean, I'll do it now, right now after the class. And then you guys will be able to access week number 2, and then let's come back next week to follow the same schedule. All right.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you for
Souvik.
joining. Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Souvik.
Bye.
Thank you. And guys, please keep on asking me questions in the Slack channel. If you don't ask me the questions in the Slack channel, then we will not be able to progress. Try to book some calls with my counterpart. I think Ben did it today. I mean, he booked a call for next week. Probably he will get a schedule. So please try to do that. Yeah. So okay. All right then. See you next week sometime. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.